Hello folks, it's Uncle Mitch again. Okay, on to the next part of this two-part series here. And it pretty much revolves around wars and why they happen and all this other crazy stuff. And at the end it's going to become apparent. Actually, I might have to split that into a third video. We'll have to see how long this goes. Back into the history of major warfare. A lot of people thought that we invaded Iraq for their oil. Some people were claiming that we invaded in order to fight terrorists. Some people even claimed that it was a holy crusade that the evangelicals were pushing. These might have been minor reasons, but I'll tell you what, I saw this one coming a frickin' mile out. This is the reason why you pay attention to politicians in the primaries, incidentally. That's when they tell you the shit they're really gonna do. George W. Bush. Okay, folks, a little background about this guy, okay? He's nowhere near as stupid as people think he is. He's glad when you think he's stupid, and he's got a vicious streak in him a mile wide. During the 1992 presidential convention for the Democratic Party, the keynote speaker was Ann Richardson, then governor of Texas. She said a horrible thing about George W. Bush's daddy, George H.W. Bush, during the convention, and George E. Jr. never forgot. You know what he did? He ran against her and took the governor's office away from her. That's right. That motherfucker decided right then he was going to get in politics and strip away the one thing she cared about most in life. Served 2 terms to mixed reviews, but generally speaking, the only reason why he started the process because that bitch pissed him off and impugned his family. Well, we advanced to the presidential election. He was talking about regime change in Iraq in the beginning of the primary process, and eventually had to drop the subject because the Republican Party was saying, hey, Saddam Hussein's under our fucking thumb, we don't have to go in there and rebuild that country after we're done. Too much money, too many lives, we're not ready to do this right now, back off. So he did. He never even really brought it up during the main presidential campaign when he was going toe-to-toe with Al Gore, okay? Never came up. You know why? He knew it was a losing issue with the American public, but it was stuck in the back of his brain, and I voted for him because I knew the first excuse he got, he was going to invade Iraq. Because the reason why he was going to do it was kind of similar to the reason why I wanted it to happen. Going back in history, during the initial Gulf War, the last major war of the World War II generation, during the ramp-up to the ground invasion, George Bush Sr. promised the Iraqi people, if you rise up and revolt against Saddam Hussein, we'll support you. Guess what happened? They rose up and revolted against Saddam Hussein. You know what we did after the highway of death ended up being on CNN? General Powell went to George Bush and said, we're going to lose our coalition and you're going to lose points in the polls if we don't stop this war. And we stopped 100 miles south of Baghdad. Why is this a big issue? I'll tell you. Because that war wasn't over even though there was a treaty. This is where Schwarzkopf screwed up, and this is the reason why generals shouldn't be negotiating treaties. Okay? It's real simple here, folks. We created the no-fly zones because we felt guilty for the fact that the Shias were going to get fucked up and the Kurds were going to get fucked up because they revolted against the Sunnis and the Baathists. Hey, it wasn't going to work because Schwarzkopf couldn't get past one point. The Iraqis kept saying, we want to fly our Hinds, we want to fly our Hinds. Hind helicopters, for those of you who don't know, are basically flying tanks. They're designed for ground attack, much like our Apaches, but they're bigger, they carry more armament, and they can carry soldiers. You know what Schwarzkopf did? Because he couldn't get past the point and he couldn't see past his fucking nose, he said okay. You know what the Iraqis did immediately after the treaty was signed? They flew their Hind helicopters into Shia territory, fired the living fuck out of them, and drove the Kurds into the mountains. I know, my unit was deployed in northern Iraq and we had to get the bastards back out. Yeah, we were conducting wartime operations after the signing of the treaty for 6 months after we did so. We fucked up horribly there. We gave the people our word, and then we broke it. And George Bush Jr. was never going to let this stand. You know why? Daddy's word's got to mean something because he's the patriarch of the family. And America's got to mean something because I quit doing coke and alcohol, and now I'm a proud American. So he gets in office and 9/11 happens. We were pissed! They dropped 2 of our buildings, killed 3,000 people, and destroyed basically the entire economic mess that was Lower Manhattan. Our city, our crown jewel, New York City, got popped by a couple of terrorists flying jet airplanes, and we said, what the fuck? As a people, we got pissed off. We knew it was foreign terrorists because it took too much coordination. Instinctively, we know that when Timothy McVeigh's happened, it's one or two kooks. But in order to fly 2 planes into 2 towers like they did, we knew it was a coordinated effort, and it takes some effort. Not to mention that it had been bombed before by the same group of people. So we didn't know who to be pissed at. We didn't understand who we were supposed to be angry at. So when CNN and ABC and all these people did their polls to figure out whether or not we would support a war in Iraq, 75% of us said, fuck yeah, let's go crush the bastards. We were pissed. George Bush Jr. had his opportunity, folks, and he took it. And I'll tell you what, right as he did, I went, you're a fucking idiot. And I'm going to tell you why. Yeah, I wanted that war, but the history of it is really simple. During the end of the Cold War, we drew down our military. A lot of people seem to forget that we reduced the amount of soldiers that we had during Clinton's presidency. And the thing is, we didn't do it right. We canceled 2 carrier groups, but the generals and the people in the state and in the Defense Department are so enamored with our technology, they forgot. You can't control territory without infantry. We had 68,000 trained active duty infantry between the Marines and the Army. You tell me you're going to control a population of 26 million people with 68,000 dudes. Of course we had an insurgency. We understood our deficiency so much, we brought entire Iraqi units not to fucking fight. And so, while we're trying to export democracy, we didn't do what I told you in the last clip. We didn't devastate Iraq. We came in there and basically took out what we had to and tried to leave as much standing as possible so we'd have to spend less money. Let me ask you, are we out yet? How much money are we spending now? Did we spend less money than we did in Japan and Germany? I think not. There was all sorts of strategic and tactical mistakes made during that war. We didn't destroy the army. We threw the Baathists out of power. We allowed al-Sadr to live. Hey folks, we made our own insurgency because we didn't learn the lessons that our grandparents tried to teach us through history. Hello? So now, George Bush Jr. hits the war button. He sends some people into Afghanistan because he knows he has to. But his general goal is to basically say, hey, let's destroy the Taliban. And then we had mission creep. Oh, let's establish democracy. How's it working out there? When's the last time we didn't have to fight the Taliban? Hey, they're in Pakistan, they raid across the border. We know exactly what's going on. And we put ourselves in a mess there. And that's the second major war we're involved in. Hey, right now, the baby boomer generation, they hit the war button every time they need more votes. Or they, for any other reason than American interest. We didn't get any oil out of Iraq, and we have no interest in Afghanistan. Everybody around Afghanistan looks at Afghanistan as a no man's land. It's the bastard child of the UN. Nobody cares which government's in power there because they put all the riffraff in Afghanistan. Pakistan packed up the Taliban and put them in Afghanistan. Uzbekistan would send in nomads into the Northern Alliance areas. Hey, these people don't want a central government. They want to listen to the tribal chiefs. You think you're going to change that situation without killing almost every fucking one of them? Probably not. So anyway, look at the other wars that the baby boom generation has engaged in. Clinton, he hit the war button in the Balkans basically because he was slipping in the polls during a presidential election. Hey Clinton, hey, it didn't work out so well. I know my brother was there. We didn't do such a great job. Look at all the war crimes tribunals that we've had to basically abandon because the generals who committed genocide against various peoples didn't live through the process. It wasn't such a great idea to go to war then. It wasn't such a great idea to process the attack against Iraq without the forces necessary as it is now. Hey, just ask my buddy, just ask my brother. They got pulled off their tanks and put on patrol. Tankers aren't trained to do that shit. Okay, past that little bit of the rant, past Afghanistan. Why does it matter now? Hey Mitch, we're already in Iraq. We got to do something. We own the motherfucker. You're right. Hey Mitch, we can't pull out of Afghanistan because Pakistan won't let us raid across the border and kill all the Talibans. You're probably right. We're fucked on these two wars. But somebody hit the war button recently. You guys weren't paying attention. Yet the ultra-conservatives and the ultra-liberals that like exporting democracy are all for it. Let me tell you something. If somebody changes the term of a military action from we're going to kill some motherfuckers to kinetic action, it's because they know you're not going to like it. And that's what we did in Libya, folks. We've pretty much split Libya in half. here's the rebels, here's Gaddafi. And we hemmed ourselves in a fucking corner because the people that populate the State Department and the White House are fucking infants, okay? If you're going to remove a dictator from power and you want a peaceful transition of power, you don't tell the motherfucker we're going to try you in a court, that there is no other option. The last time we took a schizophrenic, paranoid, pill-popping moron and tried to basically tell him there's no escape for you, he hid out a bunker in fucking Berlin, shot himself, had himself burned in gasoline, and watched his country get devastated around him. These are some selfish fucks, and yeah, I believe in right and wrong, but there's practical and unpractical. We pretty much put Gaddafi in the corner, and every time we've done that, that motherfucker's fought like a rat. What'd you think was gonna happen, you idiots? So now we got people making public statements in order to look strong on the television, and in the whole time, the United States, we really didn't want to get involved with this. You know who wanted us in on this one? Germany, Italy, and France. You know why? Because after we invaded Iraq, we canceled all their oil contracts from the oil for food. Where do you think they got the oil from for their fucking nations? Fucking Libya! That's the reason why we backed off Gaddafi, because he was going to be a good boy and we were going to give him money for his fucking oil. The United States doesn't buy oil from Libya. We get most of our oil from fucking Mexico and Canada. The fucking oil that's coming out of Libya goes into those powers. Hey, folks, what kind of army does France have? What kind of army does Germany have? We haven't let them have a decent army since the end of World War II because those two fuckers can't get along. The only thing that France has left that's battle-worthy is the French Foreign Legion. Have you seen them deploy them into Libya? No. What are we starting to see now? Mission creep. Remember that from a different clip in a different war? We established a no-fly zone. For what purpose? Now, they're saying there's no American boots on the ground, and I hate that fucking term. In theater. That's right, in harm's fucking way. Yeah, there is. There's got to be some sort of Marine Force recon or Special Forces or Rangers on the ground to laze the targets so the Air Force doesn't bomb the wrong motherfucker. That's what they're there for. You better believe they've been there since the beginning of the war. We're coming to find out that basically Barack Obama signed executive orders allowing the military to take the steps necessary to take out Gaddafi. Yet we're not going to support the liberals because we did learn one lesson from Vietnam. We don't know who these fucking people are. The last thing we want to do is arm them like we did the fucking Afghani rebels that turned around and committed terrorist acts against us. That's where we're at, folks, in Libya. That's where we're at, okay? We're in the middle of a morass with mission creep. All the military advisors going in are fucking British and French. Well, let me tell you something. The Brits know how to fucking fight a war, but they haven't had a large military. You know what we gave them during the war in Iraq when they were fucking fervently supporting us? The city of Basra. Not even a territory. The city of Basra. 30,000 infantry, that's what they had to give. It's not that the Brits can't fight a damn war. They survived the Blitz. These fuckers taught us how to do it. It's just that they're not engaged anymore. They don't have a large military, and they don't float fucking city-sized aircraft carriers into somebody's backyard telling them, I can bomb you to hell. They can't do it anymore. France? I fucking worked with their paratroopers. They're supposed to be their elites. We left their ass back in Turkey, okay? Germany? Are you fucking kidding me? The last time Germany had a decent military, World War fucking II, okay? So, if this goes any further, if the rebels keep being pushed back, if NATO is basically saying we can't stop the shelling, but we want Gaddafi out of power, guess who the fuck's gotta do it? We own Iraq, we own Afghanistan. And pretty soon, mission creep's going to put us in the same spot we were in Vietnam. We have no choice but to win. Hey, how are we going to win this one, folks? If the country gets split in half, it's going to be seen as a net loss by all the people in the world that hate us. If we turn around and occupy the country, it's going to inspire other people to come around and fucking kill us. Most importantly, if we decide that we're going to fight this one straight out, your sons and your daughters are going to be subject to a draft because our fucking military's overstretched. I'm Uncle Mitch. Pay attention to what's going on in the world, folks, because you're the ones getting fucked, that is all.